The rivalry and tension between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf breakaway group are as strong as ever. With the Open Championship arriving fast, players are worried about being purposefully excluded as punishment of sorts by the Tour. One such player is Open Championship winner Cameron Smith, who recently opened up about his fear of being banned. So keep watching for more news. Firstly, Golf Chief announces decision of barring LIV players. LIV Golf players are still able to participate in the Claret Jug next year in golf's oldest major, the Open Championship. The 4 major tournaments are under intense scrutiny to either alter their eligibility requirements starting in 2023 or to ban competitors who have joined the Saudi-backed breakaway league from competing. The Open's organizers, the R&A, are going to take a position in early 2023, although President Martin Slumbers seems to have already done so. Slumbers stated that the R&A doesn't want to betray 150 years of tradition by not being open to all players, even if they are from the LIV. They'll announce their plans about these breakaway golfers in January or February, he said. He later confirmed in an interview with Golf Digest that they decided not to ban anyone. This means that despite joining LIV Golf shortly after winning the Claret Jug, Australia's Cameron Smith, the winner from the previous year, will be free to defend his championship. Slumbers even said that he had been looking forward to seeing Cam Smith kick off his shots at 9:40 a.m. on the opening day of next year. The tournament's name speaks for itself. The organizers are going to continue to make sure there are suitable courses and methods of qualification for all players. Next up, not everyone agrees with letting LIV players attend. While Greg Norman was excluded from this year's Champions Challenge and the dinner event that followed, Slumbers justified his decision. Legendary former winners including Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and Lee Trevino were present during the event. However, Norman was not invited despite having won twice. The 150th Open is a very significant turning point for golf, and the R&A wanted to make sure the emphasis stayed on honoring the championship and its history. If Greg had gone, that probably wouldn't have been the case. Slumbers stated in an interview with Golf Digest that he ignored criticism over his decision and felt that it was right. And to be honest, we kind of agree with him. If Greg had been there, then the entire purpose of the event would have changed. Instead of being about honoring an old golfing tradition and event, it would have become about fueling the intense controversy between 2 competing tours and 2 prominent figures. The noise created would have been too much, and the Open needs to stand out from all that. The shadow cast by his presence would have set the tone for the event for the future, essentially ruining a great championship. Finally, Cameron Smith opens up about the Open Championship. Cameron Smith said he was happy with his decision to join LIV Golf, but one possible outcome lingered in his mind as a heartbreaking possibility. The Open Championship champion claims that if Augusta National had issued a decision barring LIV Golf members from teeing it up at the Masters the following year, he would have been devastated. Currently, Smith and his Saudi-backed colleagues are prohibited from participating in PGA Tour tournaments, but not in the 4 major championships, which are controlled by different regulating bodies. Smith may compete in the Open Tour until he turns 60 and has at least 5 years worth of exemptions in the 3 American majors as the champion of last year's Open Championship. Smith already scored a Masters invitation even without the significant victory because of this year's Players Championship victory and T3 performance at Augusta. He has produced 4 top 10 results in 6 starts on the club's revered fairways, so it would have taken a bombshell decision from the club to exclude the Australian from visiting again. In other news, will the PIF open their checkbooks for LIV Golf? According to Mark Schlabach of ESPN, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia had earlier expressed willingness to invest at least $784 million in LIV Golf for its debut season. However, Atul Khosla, president and chief operating officer of LIV, stated that the actual costs had actually been much more than that. The $784 million amount did not include the guaranteed, multi-year contract for players, which would be at least 1/3 of that, but only includes employee pay, build-outs at tournaments, and production costs for broadcasting live events on the official website, as well as social media. The PIF reportedly provided up to $200 million for Phil Mickelson, at least $150 million for Dustin Johnson, and at least $100 million for Cameron Smith, in addition to Bryson DeChambeau's whopping contract of about $125 million. The high cost of luring players away from the PGA Tour seems to be the cost of doing business. Financial resources are needed when you're starting an entire league on your own and trying to cut it into such a competitive competition. To To make it through the first several years, determination is necessary on everyone's part. LIV Golf isn't some kind of college football group that spends millions of dollars on players with no regard for their financial situation. They are aware that the Saudis will eventually need a return on their investment. Many believe that the Saudis will spend a few years playing with their new toy before becoming bored and moving on. But the reason LIV is still thriving is that the Saudis are wise investors. They have invested with renowned American businesses all across the world, so they have plenty of experience in these things. Next up, was all that money for nothing? There is little doubt that LIV Golf has rocked the foundation of golf in its short debut period. It has definitely stirred the pot and upended what had been a very traditional sport on the professional level. In a short amount of time, LIV Golf has etched a deep spot in the golf landscape, but the majority of that has been brought on by the truckloads of cash being thrown around. Very little attention has been placed on the actual golf element of the entire league. If you try to recount any great finishes or magical shots from this year's tournaments, you probably can't. It would even be safe to say that fans wouldn't be able to remember which players won which events. And that's the greatest problem with LIV. Money has been stealing the spotlight. This summer, when Rory McIlroy defeated Tony Finau and Justin Thomas at the Canadian Open, you would probably recall the competition on the field and not the amount of the check given to him. Moving on to LIV's current image. Perhaps fans will start to consider live events as a good live event, a festival feel kind of thing, and music and booze. Eventually, they must spark interest in its sporting events. Nobody wants to watch the weekly Hero World Challenge or the Tiger Woods Foundation Jamboree. LIV Golf has to grow, even if it needs to pay a company like Fox for the opportunity. It will get more players and it will go on television to reach most of its fans. But how can you create suspense when people are so caught up in the huge amounts of money being thrown around into millionaires' pockets? The league needs to find a way to deflect attention away from the controversy and into golf, because it won't go away. More on how they aim to move past the year one reputation. It's time for LIV to get past the growing difficulties of year one and dive deep into its business strategy. The new model has to focus on the team idea LIV showcased its first year with 12 four-man teams. LIV definitely has exceeded expectations by recruiting around 25% of the top 100 golfers in the world, led by Johnson, Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Smith, and DeChambeau. Even though LIV is doing its best to show that its field equals the PGA's, the two are not comparable. The fact that the lion's share of the world's top golfers stays on the PGA Tour will always be a problem for LIV. It leads to many questioning the level of competition for the players and whether they even deserve to be paid that much. While the R&A oversees the Open, they also manage the game everywhere else around the world outside of the US. So having the person sitting atop the R&A declare that for Saudi Arabia to invest in the game is a good thing is a huge deal. Slumbers could have simply said that if you were qualified to play in the Open, you are going to play in the Open. Instead, he said something else for a specific reason. It looks like Slumbers was preserving the Open because he wanted it to be an open competition. A closed Open would make no sense and would make for a funny tongue twister. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the Open's decision to not ban LIV players, and how long will LIV remain funded by the Saudis? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.